passed the House. It will now make its way to the U.S. Senate. The For the People Act is definitely for the people if you're a Democrat. Joining us now to talk about the bill, an expert on all things H.R. 1, Ohio Congressman Bill Johnson. Congressman, good morning. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Rob. Good to be with you.
It's good to have you, sir. H.R. 1 is being packaged as a bill to make it easier for all Americans to vote. But isn't this really just a disguise? Isn't it all about establishing permanent Democratic majorities in all three branches of the government in Washington?
Wow, you just did the entire interview, Rob. You're exactly right. That's exactly what this bill is designed to do. It's unconstitutional. It's designed to take the authorities that are granted to the states by the Constitution away from them and basically make elections a partisan effort. Whoever's in charge in Washington gets to make the rules. And if this bill ultimately were to pass into law, get signed into law, you would never see another Republican president.
This is interesting, and I know that you've been speaking about this, but you've basically got to show an ID to do anything in America, to rent a car, to rent an apartment, to buy a cell phone. You always have to have a way to identify yourself. But Nancy Pelosi thinks that people shouldn't have to identify themselves to do the most important thing that we do as Americans, and that's cast a vote.
It's fundamental to our system to be able to cast a vote. That's the number one right, because the people of this country are the board of directors. They're the ones that determine who our president is going to be, not a political party. And you're exactly right. You got to have an ID to do all of those things you mentioned. You even have to have an ID to adopt a pet. Right. And they want to complain because you have to show an ID to do the most fundamental right in our Constitution, the right to vote. And don't forget, Rob, it also weaponizes the IRS and the FEC. It makes the FEC partisan, and it gives the IRS the right to the authority to consider political bias and political orientation when they're trying to determine tax-exempt status of organizations. Yeah. This is simply wrong.
And by making the IRS bigger, it also empowers them to conduct more audits. They're going to have more resources available as well. It's interesting. People say that voting in 2020 was the most convenient it's been maybe in modern history. But most of those new rules were put in place as temporary measures by both Republicans and Democrats because thousands were dying from a global pandemic. None of that is constitutional, and none of it was meant to be permanent. But because it worked out so well, at least in the White House for the Democrats, they want to make this all permanent.
Yeah, that's not going to work. And I'm hopeful that states like Pennsylvania and Georgia, Wisconsin and Michigan, that the citizens of those states will stand up to their state elected officials and put the election authority back in the legislature. The legislature speaks for the people, but it's comprised of the people. That's what our system is based on. Yeah. And we have clear and irrefutable evidence that numerous states violated their own election laws, therefore their own constitutions, therefore violated the U.S. Constitution. And this H.R. 1 is an attempt to repeat what happened in 2020, and we can't have it.
By the way, Congressman, you're in the state of Ohio, a lot of Great Lakes and rivers there. I think you need a license or an identification to get a fishing license. Is that accurate?
You absolutely do.
Yeah, I mean, for everything.
That's the rules here.
But not to vote. And in some cases, by the way, a little provision in H.R. 1, people wouldn't have to get out of their cars to vote on Election Day. They can do it from their cars, which is just ridiculous.
Drive-by voting.
Yeah, exactly. Literally. I want to talk about the situation on the border right now, particularly in the state of Texas. Many of these migrants, these immigrants, were wearing shiny brand new T-shirts a day ago that said, "Biden, please let us in." It looked like a coordinated effort by Democrats. Where do you think those T-shirts came from?
I don't know where the T-shirts came from, but I think this open invitation for mass illegal immigration on our border, Rob, that is just so wrong too. I have been to that border. Yeah. I've been there. I've seen the human trafficking coming across that border myself. I witnessed it, and this is just an atrocity. I can't believe that the Biden administration, simply because it had a Donald Trump stamp on it to secure our borders and stop the crime and the human trafficking and the drugs from coming across our border, that they would undo this.
Congressman, quickly, about 10 seconds. Do you think that H.R. 1 passes in the Senate?
I don't. I don't believe they'll ever bring it to cloture. I don't think there's a Republican that will support this.
Right.
And I think you might have some Democrats that'll vote against it as well.
All right, Congressman Bill Johnson, we appreciate your time. Have a great weekend. Thanks so much for coming on with us this morning.
Have a great day, Rob. Thank you.
You too. All right, when we come back this morning, presidential blunders. They're part of our country's history. We just had a big one in the Oval Office by the President of the United States. We're going to talk about that.